to our Maker Spotlight. We have a very exciting session for you today. We're going to start in a few minutes. Just to warm up, if you're in the chat, tell us where you're viewing from and what you're excited about with Cohere. I'm here today with Sonam, a fellow community champion. I'm also a community champion. We're basically just people that really enjoy Cohere products. We've built some cool stuff with them, and now we get to help engage with the community and host events like these. Sonam, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Arjun. Thanks for the introduction. And hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here to be co-hosting with Arjun. And yeah, I am pretty excited about today's talk. We have some fun topic planned for sure.
I think it's really neat how creative people get with their applications of generative AI.
God,
I mean, the topic we have today is like really out of left field, so I think it'll be pretty wild. Looks like we got somebody from Toronto. Heck yeah, very cool.
Come on,
Graham,
California, wake up. Come on, we want people from California. Join in.
Fellow community champion Varun hanging out in Discord. What's up,
Hey,
Varun? Thanks for coming through. But yeah, so just to remind everybody, what we're doing is we're showcasing a community example of using some of the Cohere APIs, a cool, creative community demo that someone's made. We like to do these every week, every other week to kind of demonstrate to people what's going on with the Cohere API, how to use it, how to build really cool things with it. If you have something neat that you're working on with the Cohere API, if we see it, we like it, we want it to be on the stream so we can show everybody how cool your thing is. And there's some perks that come with that as well. If you successfully get submitted and accepted, we will give you a $500 Cohere production credit, and you'll get promoted in the Cohere Discord community as well on this live stream. So if you're building something, throw it in the chat, send it to one of the community champions, let us know so we can feature you in a future video.
And this is the place to do that.
Yep.
You'll be happy to do it for sure.
Exactly. Looks like we got some more messages. Varun's on Twitter/X, which is cool. People from Waterloo, more Toronto, Sao Paulo, really cool.
Awesome. All over
How's
the
your week
world.
been, Sonam? What's new?
New, just trying to wrap up my PhD, Arjun. There's nothing new or old. It's just the same thing.
That's right. So what year are you in now?
I would say it's 4.5 years now.
Okay, cool. And just to remind the audience, what's your PhD in and what are you studying?
Oh yeah, my PhD is an application of natural language processing in social science topic. Yep.
Really cool. So it's very intersectional then across like understanding what these technologies do and what the human ramification is, right?
Right, yeah. And it's like the application, and it's to a very, popular, common topic that needs to be taken care of. So yeah.
Really neat. So 4.5, close to the dissertation defense, writing the dissertation?
Close to that, yeah.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah. Ooh, that gives me chills.
I'll try not to remind you too much, but it sounds very exciting.
Totally okay.
And I'm glad that you found something as cool as like natural language processing, but also like really important worldly issues that people should be talking about. As for myself, I work as a data scientist, so I'm already in industry doing stuff with large language models, things like that. But I love building with Cohere APIs on the side. I'm working on some stuff. Hopefully I'll be able to share soon. What's that?
Do you love your job?
Yeah, it's really fun. I love it. I love being a data scientist. I love thinking about LLMs all day. I love thinking about data creation, which is a lot of what my job is about, data annotation, how people create these data sets, what goes into them. That I find to be very, very interesting and very important. But what else is very important is our presenter, Akshit, who we have in the green room, just hanging out. We'll bring him on in just a moment, but Akshit is going to be presenting his application of the Cohere APIs and gaming, if I understand correctly. So I'm very interested to hear what's going to happen. Sonam, I'm sure you're very interested as well.
Ooh, absolutely. Looking forward to that.
So chat, if we're ready, let's bring Akshit on and hear about his presentation. Akshit, you there?
3, 2, 1, go. Hey, Akshit.
Right.
Hi, everyone.
All right, Akshit, the floor is yours. Why don't you go ahead and share your screen, and Sonam and I will get out of the way and we can kind of see what's going up.
Yeah. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. So my project is it's called AI NPCs that can control their actions along with dialogue. So let me just show you the demo real quick. So it's made with Unreal Engine and Python to run the LLM agent. So let me just open up the project real quick. So I'm using Unreal Engine version 5.2. And so basically, the player talks to the character, and let's say you want the character to do a backflip, or maybe you want to just know if they can do it. So you can say, "Hi, do you know how to do a backflip?" The character will say yes or no, and if it's a yes, then they'll also show you the action, and it can also be a spell or maybe even a combat move. You'll see that in the demo right now. So yeah. Okay, it's going to take a second to load, and I'll just have to run a small command over here. So how it works is, so Unreal Engine does not support Python out of the box. So for having them both communicate, I'm using text files. So basically, a Python process is going to run it in the background. So let me just run that real quick. And okay, so right, we can start the demo, right? Okay. So let's ask him if he can do a backflip. Hi, Itor. Can you show me how to do a backflip?
As a fearless warrior, I embody both strength and agility. Experience the thrill of a backflip with me.
Okay, so let's try another action. Let's ask her what her favorite spell is. Hi, Hadley. Can you show me your favorite spell?
As a sorceress, I find solace in the harmony of the world. Allow me to reveal the essence of Floramagia Elysium, where beauty and tranquility entwine.
So yeah, let's ask them to do another action. Itor, can you show me some of your fight moves?
My friend, I possess not pythons, but an arsenal of combat moves that strike fear into the hearts of my enemies. Allow me to demonstrate my formidable skills.
Yeah. So I hope you everyone was able to see the demo. Um, so let's actually move into like how it works. And so it uses, there are two main components: the level blueprint in Unreal Engine and the Python script that's running. So let me just pause it right now. Yeah, and let's look at the script and the level blueprint. So let's start with the Python script because that's a little easy to understand. So for the language, it's also so we also have a couple of files that are predefined. These are a couple of JSON files. This one is called character info. So you can see in the level we had two characters. One is a warrior called Hitor, and another is a woman called Haley. So each of them have their own entries inside of the character JSON, and so they will have their name present. So and their bio. The bio contains who they are and any particular quality that you want to highlight. And here's the interesting part: the actions. So you notice that when I asked her what her favorite spell was, it based on this information, it selected this spell which summons flowers around her, and we saw her perform the spell, and we saw a lot of flowers being summoned around her with a blue magic ring appearing. So what happened was the LLM agent selected this action, and it was sent to a text file, which we'll talk about a little more later. So she has another action called Musica Harmonious. So that one is lets her create music out of thin air. And here's another thing called talking style. So this is important because if you don't use this, then the responses from the characters are not going to sound believable. Like let's say you're a warrior and you don't have a talking style like this, then what's going to happen is it's going to it's going to give responses out like a generic assistant, or it's not going to sound like a warrior. So you need to give the LLM agent a little bit context on how to speak. So this basically helps it understand um, basically how to speak, and what kind of tone or words to use. And yeah, let's go on to the other JSON file. This is a conversation file. So all the conversations that we have with characters are stored over here. So it has the character. So it has an entry for each dialogue. So it has the character, their name, their dialogue, which is what they said, and the action, which is idle. So you'll notice initially when I was in the level, both of them were just they were just ideally just moving left and right. So that is the ideal animation. But you can also notice backflip over here. So that one is so basically when we told the character to do a backflip, the LLM agent outputted backflip as the extracted action, as the action to be performed, and it got saved over here. So let's also yeah, input wave is basically the response. I mean the dialogue that you I mean the response. I mean the audio from the player. So whatever I spoke. Peter, can you show me some of your fight moves? Yeah, so it gets saved over here. And output.mp3 is this is the response from the character.
My friend, I possess not pythons, but an arsenal.
So let's see how this output.mp3 is created. So firstly, we'll have to import Cohere. So this is Cohere. We're using Cohere's language model, and we're also going to be using the prompt template and LLM chain from LangChain. And okay, here's an interesting thing: the functions.generate music function. So I didn't use this, but if you remember over here, the spell over here, it lets Hadley create music out of thin air. So for that, basically, I'm using a music gen to create uh, AI generated music that can be played inside of the level. So this is, the generate music function. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, it uses Hugging Face to load the model, and it has a prompt here, and it uses this prompt to generate this music. So when this will only run when the player asks Hadley if she can do that spell. And we also have assembly AI. So we're using that for speech to text, so transcribing the player's audio. And we also have .n for loading our environment variables like our API assembly AI API key, Cohere API key, and we're also using 11 labs for text to speech. And yeah, we're using speech recognition and a couple of other modules. And yeah, so initially I mentioned that Unreal Engine doesn't really have a way for running Python code directly. So what I did was I had this Python process communicate with Unreal Engine through text files. So these text files basically store information like what is the character's name, should the Python script start running, is the Python script done running, and it also saves the output MP3 file, the music MP3 file inside of the content folder, which is present over. Yeah, this is the content folder, which is accessible to Unreal Engine. So if you look at the text files, so these are the text files that are used for communication between Unreal and Python. So it basically just writes, you can see the action.txt. It has combat moves, which is a action that Etor can do. So Etor can do this. So that's why it's present over here.
It looks like we have a little bit of technical difficulties, but that's okay. Consider this a brief intermission in Akshit's presentation. Very exciting stuff we kind of saw there. But we don't have to pause for too long because Akshit's already back. So let's bring him back on stage. Hey, Akshit.
Oh, yeah. Did I get disconnected?
Yes, but you're back here.
Where did I get disconnected?
Just a few seconds ago. You just dropped off a few seconds ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was in character. Was I over here talking about character info?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, is my screen shared?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. Yes. So so we're going to load character info.json from over here initially, and then we're going to have a while loop running. Did I talk about was the explanation about the text files? Did you guys hear about that?
Yes. So you told us about how the text files were kind of an intermediary. So you told us about how the text files were kind of an intermediary for determining when to run certain scripts.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Yeah. So we're going to have a while loop that basically checks the start Python text file. So when Unreal Engine wants the Python script to run, it's going to set this to 1. So unless this file has a 1 written over here, it's going to basically sleep for 1 second. If it's 0, then it's going to sleep for 1 second and then hit continue. So it won't execute this below code and it will again go from running over here. But if Unreal Engine sets it to 1, then what it's going to do is it's going to set it back to 0 and it's going to start capturing your audio. So the players, once it's going to it's basically going to capture this player's input audio. So it's going to, let me just open up it here. Yeah. So this is the level blueprint inside of Unreal Engine. So once it sets the start Python value to 1, it's going to set it over here. And once that happens, the Python script is going to start listening to the player's audio. And once that happens, it's going to save that inside this variable and save it into a input.wave. And we're going to send this input.wave to assembly AI. So we're going to first load the API key, and we're going to initialize the transcriber and send the input audio to the to assembly AI, and we are going to get back the text that the player spoke, and we're going to use this player dialogue in the prompt template. So let's continue over here. Yeah. So we're also going to find out. So before making the LLM agent give us the response, we need to know who the player is talking to. So if you notice, while I was talking to them, I was pointing my camera over to them. So what Unreal Engine was doing is it was figuring out who I was looking at. So basically, it takes a location of the character, and it also takes my location, and it uses the location and the direction of the camera, computes a dot product, and compares it for all the characters. So based on whose dot product is higher, it decides whether the player is looking at Etor, whether he's looking at both of them, or whether he's looking at Hadley. And based on that, it saves the character's name to the character identification.txt file. And that is the file that is being loaded over here. So we need that because we're going to have to load up their bio. We're going to have to load the actions that they can perform, the actions over here, and the talking style. So once we have all of these variables loaded, we're also going to load the conversation. And so once we have all of these, variables loaded, we're going to initialize the LLM. So we're using Cohere's command model. So we're first loading the API key. We're setting the model as command. So the reason I chose command over here is because it has about 4,096 context tokens. So over here, the max tokens is set as 300 for the generated response. But we're also going to have to take into account the entire conversation length and also the the tokens that are being consumed by all of this information. So that's why I chose command. Because, yeah.
Really great presentation so far. I'd like to jump into the question answer portion because there's so much stuff happening here that I'd really like to learn more about. So just give me a second. Let's set this up right here. Wonderful. So it looks like you've set up a lot of different pieces of software, a lot of different APIs that are working together to create this like gaming NPC interactive experience. I'd really like for you to, at a very high level, once the user starts speaking out toward some NPC, what pieces of software are being used in order to create that interaction? So like once you start speaking, what ends up happening, and then what types of, where do we start seeing the generative AI portion kind of hop in? You mentioned that you used assembly AI, for example, for the transcription. So immediately after that, what else kind of goes on?
So after we get the transcribed text, we are going to send that to Cohere with a prompt, and Cohere generates the response for the character and also the action that the character has to perform. So once we have the dialogue and the action, we need to create a audio response from the text with, so that we can, it will create an audio response using 11 laps, and it's going to save that to a an MP3 file, and that MP3 file is later so what I'm using right now for facial animation is it basically takes an audio file, a audio file of a dialogue, and creates a facial animation from that using the skeletal mesh of the character. So it uses that to create the facial animation and starts playing the audio generated by 11 labs. And also for the action, it basically checks which action has been selected, and based on that, it performs one of the predefined actions that were defined in the level blueprint. That's pretty much. So it first goes to the assembly AI for audio transcription, then Cohere for generating the response of the NPC with the action, and then Unreal Engine MetaHuman SDK to generate the facial animation and action.
So the majority of the decision making stems from that initial analysis of the prompt that's being sent to the Cohere API. That kind of determines what action to be selected, and then everything after that is scripted, more or less, save for the generation of the audio response.
Yeah. So Cohere basically just selects the dialogue. I mean, creates the dialogue and selects the action.
Great. So one thing that I'm thinking about, and Sandra, our wonderful co-host, is also thinking about, is you're putting together all these APIs, you're using all these different pieces of software. Was that the most difficult part about your project, or is there something else you'd like to highlight for everyone to learn from, for us to understand? Like, what was
I
the
think
most difficult part of kind of making this all work together?
I think the most difficult part was integrating all of these, Python, these Python and these, AI tools with Unreal Engine, because it isn't like there isn't like it's not easy to actually integrate both of these. So that took me a little bit of time, and other than that, also figuring out what the best prompt was.
That was actually my next, like my question, like how much did the prompt engineering play a role in the entire setup? Did it
So if
change the
you'll
course of actions or how did it affect?
Yeah, so if you'll notice over here, I have something, some like only give action name, not description. I had to add this and I also have something called very, very small. So I had to actually add this. Initially, when I didn't have this, it started generating really long, like I think 4 to 5 line responses, which was, pretty big. So I had very, very small written, and I also noticed that while generating the action, it would generate the idle and also the description. But I only wanted the name of the action. So I had to only give action name and not the description. So sometimes you just have to explicitly, give these instructions.
Right, and
Yeah,
keeping track of
makes sense.
like what level of specificity was important
Right.
and impactful, and what was just like verbose must have took a while to kind of
Mhm.
figure out. And so, speaking
Yeah.
of that, we have a question from the audience from Priscilla. Thank you, Priscilla from LinkedIn, for sending this in. With regards to the length of the conversation you can have in the NPCs, like how much feedback are you allowing to kind of return there? From what I can tell, it seems to be kind of like a one turn conversation where you kind of just
Mm.
have some initial response that might be free form. You analyze that, pick the appropriate action, and maybe have a generated response back. But could you correct me on that? Can you have additional conversation with the NPC, or is it just a little back and forth?
So it stores the entire conversation in a conversation.json file. So suppose you spoke to the NPC about something, maybe 2 or 3 turns or maybe 5 turns before, then it's still in the conversation.json. So, and that's being sent to the prompt. So the LLM agent knows that you spoke about that, so it should be able to remember. And also, this has Chroma as a vector DB. So, if it gets too long, it's going to send it to the vector DB. And you can also have add, other information to the vector DB, like, the character's backstory and all of that, if it's too big to fit into the prompt.
I see. I see. Very cool. Sonam, do you have any other questions on your mind about what
Yeah.
Akshit's been working on?
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool, and I like how there are so many different blocks that are connected. So my question is, did you have to make a choice? Because, for example, for vector DB, there are tons and tons of options. So to suit your use case, did you have to go through like do some trial and error, or you were just very sure about the pros and cons of Chroma DB that would suit for you?
I've been using Chroma for a long time, so just out of habit, I just used it. It's open source, so it's really nice.
Yeah, yeah,
Makes
I
sense.
agree.
When you want to create a demo really fast, it makes a lot of sense to use something you have familiarity with rather than
Yeah.
to reinvent the window right there, reinvent the wheel right there. But yeah, so we have another question from our audience. Thank you again, Sandra. But do you think that you could use these generative AI tools to create the NPCs themselves directly?
Um, well, you could. It is possible. I mean, you can have the LLM agent procedurally generate a personality name and select their skills, and so an LLM agent should be able to generate that. And so then transferring that to Unreal Engine might be a little difficult. I mean, it's not going to be easy, but it should be possible, I think.
Speaking of what you want to do next in your project, what's your plans for the future for this project?
Well, I haven't made any plans so far, but one of the you could say the limitations of this project is it's limited to a couple factions right now. Like each character. So I mean, I could. So basically, it's limited by like you have to initially add all the animations of the actions that it has to perform. So if there was a way to have the AI create the animations from scratch. Like right now, I'm using animations I'm getting from Mixamo and importing it into my project. But it would be really cool if there was an AI model that could generate animations from scratch. I mean, just from a text prompt, someone picking up a glass, and then it generates an animation file.
Got it. Thank you so much, Akshit. This was a wonderful presentation. Sonam, what did you think about it?
Oh, I absolutely enjoyed it. And honestly, I didn't have much information about NPCs and how everything works. But Akshit, with your project and how everything, you brought everything together, that was pretty great. And yeah, thank you so much for giving the demo to everyone. And thanks for everyone who asked all the questions. So yeah, that sounds good. So let's wrap up.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you so much. And yeah.